Okay, fam, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the grayscale trust as well as what happened with the markets today because yikes is all I can say about it. So with that being said, let's get it. Okay, so there was some data that came out early this morning. I didn't really think much of it, but oh boy, did the drop that we saw this morning, it was bad. It was like nuclear. It was pretty crazy how aggressively the market sold off. So but really what it comes down to is the markets are worried that the Fed's not going to be able to cut rates because of a risk of reinflation. We've talked about this before. I think that's going to change after January 20th. The changes may not necessarily be immediate, but I think they'll be alleviated by some of the upcoming policies. Like I said, I think the markets, once again, are missing the forest for the trees. They overreacted, which obviously markets do that a lot. A lot of these people that are in these markets are very emotional. They don't know how to control their emotions. And they'll panic sell or panic buy, do all those kinds of things. I can't tell you guys what to do, but please don't be that guy. So anyways, I think the most important data that we had this morning was actually the ISM data and JOLTS and job openings. Now, for the ISM data, I'm not so worried about any of this. I'd be more so concerned about the manufacturing, which we don't see here. But the JOLTS job openings, it appears that it came up. So, this is kind of a crux 22. So, the way it works is like this. Okay, if there's more job openings, then the markets will think that the Fed may not be willing to cut rates as fast because the labor market needs to cool, which Powell's already come out and said basically that he's more concerned about the labor market than inflation, which their recent moves kind of paint the opposite picture. Again, go with what they do, not what they say. But so in that particular situation, that's what we're currently seeing. So job openings are going up, so they're not going to cut rates now. They're going to take their sweet time, right? And the markets don't like that because they want the punch bowl. They want the easy money. Whereas if the inverse was true, the job openings were less than and the unemployment rate was rising, which again is not going to happen in my opinion, then they would start to think that the Fed would cut rates faster, and that would be a bad thing because then something's broken in the system and all of a sudden you have a recession and a market crash and all that kind of crap. So we're not seeing that one, fortunately. Currently, what we're seeing is that there's a hot labor market. So the markets are concerned the Fed's not going to cut rates because they have the ability to take their sweet time, and they don't like that. In my opinion, I think this situation is the lesser of two evils because obviously nobody wants layoffs and all that kind of stuff, right? So anyways, so we got the meeting minutes tomorrow. I'm not too worried about that. But what I do want to point out here is, the markets got kind of nuked today. So, if you guys were looking for a dip buying opportunity, this is it. I did tell you guys before that with Bitcoin, there was a possibility it may get rejected off of this line. That's exactly what we saw. We saw that happen once before. Do I think it's going to continue like that? Personally, no. I do think Bitcoin is set to go higher. Look, the trend is pretty obvious here, okay? Just draw a line on the trend. You can see real nice and easy, higher highs, higher lows, right? As long as we don't get below this 92,000 with a candle close, I think we are good to go to the upside. Now, usually this time last cycle, Bitcoin did have a major pullback, but again, this pullback by itself is pretty substantial. If you guys are looking for dip buying altcoins, there it is right there. You can see all the red. I don't think I need to say much more about this. But once again, I will reiterate, I do think we've already hit the bottom or we're pretty close to it because this indicator right here just flashed. Stocks above the 50-day on the S&P. And again, this could be either the S&P or the NASDAQ. It's a rare indicator, okay? It's only popped onto the support line 5 times previously in the past 4 years. So we're seeing 6 times now in 4 years. And usually it takes 2 or 3 months for this thing to top out. So that's pretty much that. So let's get into the Grayscale Trust. And again, if you guys were looking for a dip buying opportunity yet again, here it is. Now, if you're at a point where your bags are full and you're like, man, screw that, I don't want to buy anymore. I'm sick to my stomach with all this volatility. I just want to hold what I got. Okay, I get it. I mean, I can certainly understand why you would say that. We've done that before as well. So, to each their own. Anyways, so LTCN here, buy zone, currently 1270 to 1470 on this one, with targets ranging anywhere from 25 to 54. Do keep in mind these things can take off like a rocket at any point in time for any reason. We've gone over this a couple of times in previous videos. It can literally happen out of nowhere when you least expect it. So 305% gain here. Next one here, BCHG. So inverse head and shoulders with the target still being at roughly about 14 bucks on this one. We got to get above the neckline here to actually get the move pushing in that direction. So buy zone as of right now, 5 to 580 on this one, with targets set anywhere from 1240 to roughly about 24 bucks. I mean, if your average is at $6 on this and you ride it all the way up to 24, that's a 3x on your or 4. My bad, a 4x on your money. 325% gain here. HZEN, so it has come back down below the structure level. Whether it's actually going to stay there by the end of the week or not, that remains to be seen. So I would say anywhere from 4.25 to 5 at this point for the buy area. Targets going from 8 up to 1230 here for about 193% potential maximum gain on this one, ETCG. So I'd say anywhere from the trend line at 960 going up to this white line here at 13 bucks, somewhere there, because it's kind of wedged in between there. That could be a good buy area to potentially look at, and targets from 1850 to 20 on this one for about 100% gain here at ETHE. All right, so pretty much anywhere in this green box, so 2350 to 2850. I do not think these prices are going to stay here forever. I'll just be honest with you all about that. What it's going to take to get these prices up, I don't know. But I would be willing to put a pretty large bet on the fact that Trump getting into office and all of his policies and all of his staff being there and Gensler being gone and Miss Warren not being able to witch hunt the crypto space anymore. I would bet the culmination of all those things, in addition possibly with Trump pressuring the Fed to lower rates, would probably cause the move, if you know what I'm saying. So anyways, 53 cup and handle target is what we're looking at here. That is the tip of this white line. That's the target right there for about 125% gain. GBAT. So anywhere between the top of the support, $5, to the bottom of this resistance zone here, 750, potentially a good area to buy with targets at 32. Do keep in mind that one of the Democrats' policies, they were trying to get Kamala Harris. Okay, so 510% gain here. Kamala Harris to implement was a 25% unrealized capital gains tax, which I don't even know how you would possibly do that. Thank God that never happened. But on top of that, they wanted to raise taxes. So yeah, in addition to having to deal with more pain in the you-know-what regulations for crypto, we would have had to deal with all that too. So the fact that that's no longer a concern by itself is great news. But once again, once we actually get the administration we want into the Capitol on the 20th of this month, that will set things in motion, in my opinion. Okay. All right. So FILG, about 62 to 65 on this one for the buy zone. Again, that's just pretty much at the EMA. So 400 for the target. That's at the all-time highs. It could easily go much higher, 500% gain. GLIV, another inverse head and shoulders pattern here with a target of 31. The buy zone right now is between 12 to 15 on this one. Targets going all the way up to 80. I mean, if your average was at 11 and you rode it up to 80, you'd be sitting on a 7, well, whether you choose to sit on the position at that point or cash out, that's up to you, but it would be a 7x return. 607% gain here at G-Link. So I think this is some consolidation right before it's about to rip. That's kind of what it looks like to me. But anyways, I'd say at the EMA's good buy area. So 75 to $100. Of course, you could go lower at this 63. That's up to you. So 225 for the target at the all-time high here. for about 215% gain. GSOL still trying to base out here at $20. I would say anywhere from 15 to 24 just to be on the safe side for a potential buy area, with targets going from 80 all the way up to 115 for about a 655% gain. GXLM, I'm still going to go with this 36 to 40 here until we get above this zone as the potential buy area here, because again, we have gotten rejected yet again. So 70 to 96 on this one for the targets, going for about 170% gain. Mana is still chopping around in that big fat accumulation zone down here. So that accumulation zone anywhere from 10 going up to about 20 for the potential buy area here, and the targets up to 70. So you're looking at roughly about a 3.5 to a 7x. 590% gain. Zcash. So yeah, we're above the EMAs, not quite within this green box. So I'd say maybe the EMAs is a good buy area. So 480 to 580 on this one, with targets going anywhere from $8 to about 10, 15, 10 and a quarter, somewhere there, for around 125% gain. So one last thing I want you guys to keep in mind. I know the prices are not going anywhere right now. That's kind of to be expected. I mean, altcoins may take a little time to actually start ramping up in Q1. Again, we got to wait for the most bullish catalyst to take place. Like I told you guys before, usually it's two things that will happen that will move these markets, okay? It is smart money reversing the market with their billions of dollars by default, because that's what happens when you put large volume into the market. The more shares or the more orders you put in, the more likely it is to move the price by default. That's just simply what happens, okay? Or number two, a catalyst of some kind, okay? That's always the case in these markets. What exactly that's going to be, we don't yet know, okay? It could be Trump, it could be the Fed, it could be Gary Gensler resigning, it could be, it could be anything. It could be, I'm trying to think of what else it could be. It could be inflation just magically going back down to 2%. And if you think that can't happen, trust me, it can happen. I mean, there's a lot of extenuating circumstances that could create that. Okay, I've told you guys this before. That could happen. Believe it or not, it could just magically go down to 2% because all the inflationary factors just disappear all of a sudden because of a certain somebody, right? But regardless, these accumulation zones, they can last a long time. Again, we saw it on Bitcoin, we saw it on Dogecoin, and even I'll give you a couple other examples before we close out here. For example, AMC, and I know we haven't talked about this one in a while. We will here soon, but you can see last cycle before it popped off, this thing was in a massive accumulation zone, huge, long, very, very long-winded accumulation zone right here, okay? And if I measure this time frame during this accumulation zone, you see it took 441 days. This was more than a year of sideways price action before it eventually popped off, whatever that is, like a 30, 40, 50x, I don't know, okay? Another example here I'll give you guys is one of the quantum stocks. Let's say, for example, quantum stocks. If we take a look at this entire accumulation zone, you can actually see it's quite large. This thing went sideways, mostly sideways, for a massive 784 days before eventually popping off to the moon. Do I think these altcoins and Grayscale Trust and all that stuff are going to take that long? No, I don't. I think we're about ready to get that move. But the accumulation zones on these things can range in time and price. Okay, nothing's ever going to be exactly the same. I think what we're seeing right now is just kind of an accumulation, and the market's trying to digest everything that's happening and that's going to happen before we eventually get that rip to the upside. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.